The mile marker outside our station says 173, and it's been 173 for as long as I can remember. But yesterday, a trucker came in asking for directions, and when I told him we were at mile 173, he looked at me like I was insane. "I just passed mile 201, he said. "This station is at 201. Says so right outside." I went out to check and he was right. The mile marker said 201, but I know it said 173 this morning. I've seen it 1,000 times. When I came back inside, the trucker was gone, just vanished, and the phone rang. It was my manager, and he sounded panicked. "What mile marker are you showing right now?" When I told him 201, he was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Get out. Get out right now. When it shows anything higher than 200, the station isn't in Wyoming anymore." I went back outside, and everything looked wrong. The road was the same. The landscape was the same. But the sky was a different color. Too dark, with stars I didn't recognize. And there were cars pulling up to the pumps. Lots of cars. But they were all empty. Engines running, headlights on, doors open, but no drivers. Just empty cars, lined up perfectly at every pump, and more pulling in from the highway. I ran back inside and locked the door, and that's when I saw the map on the wall. Our station has always been in Wyoming, but the map now showed we were in South Dakota. And as I watched, the location dot started moving across the map by itself, slowly drifting west. The phone rang again. I picked it up, and it was my own voice on the other end, but older, exhausted. "Listen to me carefully," my voice said. "You're at day 1. I'm at day 847. The station is traveling. It's taking you to where it really wants to be. And when you get there, you're going to see what's waiting. What's been waiting for a very long time." Let me back up. My name is Kyle Brennan, and 3 months ago I took the graveyard shift at the Frontier Stop, a gas station 40 miles east of Rawlins on Interstate 80. The pay was decent, the work was easy, and I needed the money after my dad's medical bills piled up. The owner, Earl Voss, seemed normal enough when he hired me. Gruff, weathered, the kind of guy who'd lived in Wyoming his whole life and probably never left. But he gave me rules, 6 of them, typed on yellowed paper, taped inside the storage room door. At the time, I thought they were quirky. Now I know they're the only reason I'm still alive. My first night at the Frontier Stop started at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday in July. Earl showed me around. The register, the coffee machine that never quite worked right, the walk-in cooler that smelled like old meat no matter how many times we cleaned it. The place had been here since 1987, he said. Built by his uncle, passed down through the family. Most nights you'd get maybe 5 customers between midnight and 6. "Easy money," Earl said, handing me the key ring. "Just keep the place running and follow the protocols." He walked me to the storage room and pointed at the paper taped to the inside of the door. 6 rules, printed in faded dot matrix font. Frontier Stop Night Protocols. 1. Between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m., do not look at the mile marker post outside. If you must go outside during this hour, keep your eyes on the ground. 2. If a customer pays with a bill that has a red star stamped on it, accept the payment, but do not give change. Place the bill in the safe immediately. 3. The payphone outside will ring exactly twice per shift. Never answer it. If it rings a 3rd time, leave the building and wait in your vehicle until sunrise. 4. Check the map on the wall every hour. If the station's location dot moves, record the new position in the logbook. Do not call anyone about this. 5. If you see another employee in the station during your shift, Do not acknowledge them. You work alone. 6. At 4:44 a.m., the cooler door will open by itself. Close it immediately. Do not look inside first. I read through them twice. Earl stood behind me, arms crossed. This some kind of hazing thing? I asked. Do I look like I'm joking? His expression hadn't changed. These rules kept every night worker alive for 37 years. Follow them exactly. What happens if I don't? Earl's jaw tightened. We've had 4 people quit over the years. 3 of them are fine. One of them... He stopped, shook his head. Just follow the protocols, Kyle. That's all I'm asking. He left me alone after that. I spent the first few hours organizing the shelves, restocking cigarettes, wiping down the counters. Around midnight, a trucker came in for diesel and energy drinks. Normal transaction. Around 1:30, a college kid heading to Colorado stopped for snacks. Also normal. At 1:55 a.m., I checked the map on the wall behind the register. Standard Wyoming road map, the kind you'd find in any visitor center. A red dot marked our position on I-80, exactly where we should be. Mile marker 173. I wrote it in the logbook. 1:55 a.m., mile 173. No change. At 2 a.m., I made sure I stayed inside. Didn't even glance toward the windows. I reorganized the candy bars, counted the lottery tickets, did anything to keep busy. The hour passed without incident. At 2:47 a.m., a sedan pulled up to pump 3. Woman in her 40s looked exhausted. She came inside, paid $30 cash for gas. The bill she handed me had something on it. I held it up to the light, a small red star stamped in the upper right corner. I looked at her. She stared back, expression blank. "Keep the change," she said, though there wasn't any change to give. I put the bill in the safe like the rules said. When I turned around, she was already back in her car, pumping gas. $30 exactly. She drove off without coming back inside. At 3:15 a.m., I checked the map again. The dot hadn't moved. Mile 173. I wrote it down. At 4:44 a.m., I heard the cooler door click open. My pulse picked up. I walked over, keeping my eyes forward, and pushed the door shut. Didn't look inside. Didn't want to know. The phone outside rang at 4:52 a.m. once, then again at 5:38 a.m. Twice total. I didn't touch it. At 6 a.m., Earl's truck pulled into the parking lot. Sunrise was turning the sky pink over the highway. He came inside, looked at me, looked at the logbook. "Any problems?" "No, sir." He nodded. "Good. See you tonight." I thought I'd handled it well. I thought the rules were just superstition, old paranoia passed down through bored night workers. But that was before the mile marker changed, before I heard my own voice on the phone, before I understood what the frontier stop really was and where it was trying to go. The second week went smoothly. I followed the protocols, logged the mile marker every hour, ignored the payphone when it rang. The station stayed at mile 173. Earl seemed satisfied. My paychecks cleared. I told myself this was just an easy gig with eccentric rules, nothing more. On my 11th night, things started to shift. It was a Wednesday, mid-August. Traffic had been light. Maybe 3 customers all night. Around 1:30 a.m., I was restocking the beer cooler when I noticed something off about the cigarette display behind the register. The packs were rearranged. I'd organized them alphabetically that afternoon before my shift, but now they were sorted by color instead. Red packs on the left, graduating to white on the right. I didn't remember doing that. I stood there staring at them for a solid minute, trying to recall if I'd spaced out and reorganized them without thinking. couldn't remember. I put them back in alphabetical order and tried to forget about it. At 2:05 a.m., I was in the bathroom when I heard the front door chime. Someone had come in. I finished up quickly and headed back to the register. Nobody there. I checked the aisles. Empty. Checked outside through the window. No cars at the pumps except my own beat-up Dodge pickup. The door chime hadn't sounded again, meaning whoever came in was still inside. Or should have been. Rule 5 flashed in my mind. If you see another employee in the station during your shift, do not acknowledge them. You work alone. But this wasn't an employee. This was a customer. Right. I walked the entire station twice. Storage room, bathrooms, behind every shelf. Nothing. No one. I checked the security camera monitor, grainy black and white feed from 4 angles. I rewound to 2:05 a.m. The front door opened. No one came through. The door just swung open on its own, stayed open for exactly 5 seconds, then closed. My mouth went dry. I looked at the cigarette display, rearranged again, by color. I put them back, alphabetically, hands steady. I wasn't scared. I was something else. Aware, maybe. Aware that the Frontier stop was more than a building. At 2:47 a.m., a truck pulled in. Big rig, Wyoming plates, hauling what looked like construction equipment. Driver came inside, older guy with a handlebar mustache and a Casper Strong t-shirt. He grabbed 2 coffees, a pack of beef jerky, a roll of antacids. Heading to Laramie? I asked, making conversation. Rock Springs, he said, taking 191 north after Rollins. I rang him up. $23. He paid with 3 tens. I gave him 7 back. You know what mile marker this is? He asked. 173, I said automatically. He frowned, pulled out his phone, checked something. GPS says 173, but I could have sworn. He shook his head. Never mind. Long haul. Eyes play tricks. After he left, I checked the map. Still at mile 173. Red dot exactly where it should be. I logged it. 2:50 a.m., mile 173. No change. At 3 a.m., I checked again out of paranoia. The dot had moved. Not much. Maybe half an inch west on the map. I grabbed the phone book we kept under the register and cross-referenced. The dot now showed us at mile 171. We'd moved backward, 2 miles west in 10 minutes, while I was standing still inside the station. I logged it. 3 a.m., mile 171, shifted west 2 miles. My hands were shaking now. I wanted to call Earl, but Rule 4 said not to. I wanted to walk outside and check the actual mile marker, but it was past 2 a.m., and Rule 1 said to keep my eyes down if I went out during that hour. So I stayed inside, watched the map, waited. At 3:15 a.m., the cigarette display rearranged itself while I was staring directly at it. The packs slid across the shelf like someone was sorting them, but no hands, no person. Just the packs moving on their own, red to right, left to right. I didn't fix them this time. At 3:47 a.m., the payphone outside rang. First ring. I noted the time in my head. It rang again at 4:22 a.m. That was twice. I could breathe again. At 4:44 a.m., the cooler door opened. I walked over and shut it. This time, though, I heard something. A voice. Faint. Coming from inside the cooler. It sounded like my name. Kyle. Just once. Quiet. Almost like someone testing if I'd respond. I closed the door and walked back to the register. Didn't look back. At 5 a.m., I checked the map again. Mile 169. We'd moved another 2 miles west. The dot was drifting across the map at a pace I could now measure. Roughly 2 miles per hour. heading somewhere. I checked the map's legend. If we kept going west at this rate, we'd cross into Utah by tomorrow night. But that didn't make sense. The building wasn't moving. The highway outside looked the same. The pumps were in the same place. Everything was stationary except the map. Earl arrived at 6 a.m. I showed him the logbook. He read through the entries, jaw tight. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Fine." Confused, but fine. "Any nausea? Headaches? Sense of lost time?" "No." He nodded. "Good. That means you're anchored. Some people lose their anchor on traveling nights. They drift with the station and don't come back right." He tapped the logbook. "You did good. Logged everything. Followed protocols. The station's testing you." "Testing me for what?" Earl looked at me for a long moment. "To see if you're worth keeping." He didn't explain what that meant. He just took the logbook, locked it in the safe with the Red Star bill, and told me to go home. Get some sleep. Come back tonight. I drove home as the sun came up over the Laramie Range. My apartment in Rawlins felt smaller than usual, like the walls had moved inward while I was gone. I tried to sleep but couldn't. I kept thinking about the cigarette packs rearranging themselves, the voice in the cooler, the station drifting west on the map while staying perfectly still in reality. That night, when I came back from my shift, the mile marker outside said 173 again. Like nothing had happened. Like the station had traveled 8 miles west and then snapped back to where it started. Earl didn't mention it. He just handed me the key and left. I checked the map at 10:30 p.m. Mile 173. Red dot in the right place. But the dot was pulsing now. Slow. Rhythmic. Like a heartbeat. If you like the stories, please hype the videos from a button like this just above the comment section. It helps the videos to get more reach and perform well. It would take just a few seconds and cost nothing, but would help the channel grow even faster. Thank you. The third week started normally enough. Monday through Wednesday, the station behaved. Mile marker stayed at 173. Map stayed still. The cigarette display remained however I left it. I started to think maybe the traveling night had been a one-time thing, some atmospheric anomaly that Earl understood, but didn't care to explain. Thursday night changed that. I clocked in at 10 p.m. Earl looked haggard, older than his 63 years. He handed me the keys without his usual small talk about weather or road conditions. "You ever think about quitting?" he asked. The question caught me off guard. "No, why?" "Just asking." He grabbed his coat. "If you ever do, tell me first. Don't just stop showing up. That's important." "Okay." He left. I watched his taillights disappear down the highway, then locked the door and started my opening routine. Check the register, brew fresh coffee, verify the cooler temperature. Everything normal. At 11:47 p.m., a sedan pulled in. Woman in her 30s, blonde hair, Utah plates. She came inside, bought a Coke and a bag of chips, paid with a 20. I gave her change. She left. Standard transaction. At 12:30 a.m., the same woman pulled in again. Same car, same clothes, same blonde hair. She came inside, bought a Coke and a bag of chips, paid with a 20. I stared at her. She stared back, no recognition in her eyes. "Didn't you just stop here?" I asked. "First time tonight," she said. "Heading to Cheyenne." I gave her the change. She left. I watched her drive east on I-80, same direction as before. I checked the security footage. Sure enough, 11:47 p.m., same woman, same transaction. Then 12:30 a.m., same woman, same transaction. Identical. I wrote in the logbook, 12:35 a.m. Repeat customer. Same person, same purchase, 43 minutes apart. No memory of first visit. At 1 a.m., I checked the map. Mile 173. No change. The dot wasn't pulsing anymore. At 1:50 a.m., I prepped for the 2 to 3 a.m. window. Stayed inside, kept my eyes away from the windows. I reorganized the chip rack, mopped the floor near the soda fountain, counted the change in the register twice. Anything to stay busy. At 2:23 a.m., someone knocked on the glass door. I froze. We didn't lock the door during business hours. It was always open. But someone was knocking. 3 sharp raps, like they needed permission to enter. I looked up. Man in his 50s, trucker build, wearing a jacket with a Sinclair logo. He knocked again, watching me through the glass. Behind him, a big rig sat at pump 2, engine running. I walked over and pushed the door open. It hadn't been locked. It swung freely. "It's open," I said. He nodded and stepped inside, but something about his movement felt wrong. Too smooth. Like he was gliding rather than walking. He went straight to the coffee station and poured a cup. Black. Walked to the register. $3.50, I said. He handed me exact change. $3, 2 quarters. The coins were cold, not room temperature cold. Cold like they'd been in a freezer. "What mile marker is this?" he asked. 173, I said. He looked at me the way you'd look at someone who just said the sky was green. I just passed mile 201. The station is at 201. Says so right outside. I glanced at the clock. 2:26 a.m. Still inside the window where I wasn't supposed to look at the mile marker. "Let me check," I said. I walked outside, keeping my eyes on the pavement. The trucker followed me. I could hear his boots on the concrete. I looked at my feet, at the yellow parking lines, at anything except the mile marker post 20 feet away. "Look," he said, pointing. I couldn't help it. I looked up. The mile marker said 201, but I'd seen it say 173 when I arrived. I'd seen it say 173 for 3 weeks straight. I stared at the numbers. White reflective paint on the green sign. 201. Clear as anything. "Told you," the trucker said. I turned to respond, but he was gone. Just gone. The big rig at pump 2 was gone. No engine noise. No tire marks. No coffee cup inside where he'd left it on the counter. The security monitor showed nothing. No truck, no man, no transaction. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "Don't look at the marker during the forbidden hour." I went back inside. The payphone outside started ringing. I checked the time. 2:34 a.m. That was the first ring. It rang again at 2:41 a.m. Second ring. I waited. Watched the clock. Watched the phone through the window. At 2:49 a.m., it rang a third time. Rule 3. If it rings a third time, leave the building and wait in your vehicle until sunrise. I grabbed my jacket and keys, locked the register, and headed for my truck. Outside, the air felt different. Thicker. The stars overhead looked wrong, brighter, arranged in patterns I didn't recognize. The highway stretched east and west. Same asphalt, same yellow lines. But the landscape around it seemed flattened somehow, like a photograph instead of real terrain. I got in my truck and locked the doors. The station sat there in my rearview mirror, lights on, pumps lit up. Normal. Except it wasn't. At 3:03 a.m., a car pulled up to pump 4, engine running, headlights on, driver's door open, nobody inside. Just an empty Subaru sitting there like someone had vanished mid-pump. Another car pulled in. Ford pickup. Empty. Engine running. Another. Nissan sedan. Empty. They kept coming, one after another, pulling off the highway with precision, parking at the pumps, engines idling. No drivers, no passengers. Just empty vehicles lining up like they'd been summoned. I counted 12 before I stopped counting. My hands gripped the steering wheel. I wanted to drive away, just put the truck in reverse and leave. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the job. Maybe it was the paycheck I needed. Maybe it was Earl's warning about not just stopping showing up. At 4:02 a.m., the cars were still there. I could see them in the rearview mirror, a neat row of empty vehicles. The station lights flickered once, twice, then steadied. At 4:44 a.m., I heard the cooler door open inside the station. I was 50 feet away in my truck, but I heard it. A distinct click and whoosh of the seal breaking. Then a voice, louder this time, coming from inside the building. Kyle. My name, clear, echoing across the parking lot. Kyle, come back inside. It sounded like me, my voice, but deeper, older, like I'd aged 30 years. I didn't move, didn't respond. I sat in my truck until the sky started to lighten, until the stars I didn't recognize faded into dawn. The empty cars disappeared one by one as the sun rose, just vanished. No sound, no movement. One moment they were there, the next they weren't. At 6:08 a.m., Earl pulled in. I got out of my truck. He looked at me, looked at the station, looked at the mile marker. 201, he said. You looked during the window. A trucker told me to. He said, there was no trucker. The station makes you look. It wants you to see the numbers change. That's how it knows you're paying attention. He walked to the door and unlocked it. Come inside. We need to talk. I followed him in. He went straight to the map on the wall and tapped it. You're traveling now, he said. You saw 201. That means the station accepted you. It's taking you with it. Taking me where? Earl pulled out the logbook, flipped back through pages and pages of entries. Different handwriting, different names, dates going back years. Every night worker eventually travels, he said. Some make it back. Some don't. The station is looking for something. A place it was supposed to be built. Where it belongs. And it takes people with it to help it get there. He looked at me. You can quit now. Walk away. The traveling stops if you stop working here. But if you stay, if you keep coming back, you'll see where it's going. And you might not like what you find. I should have quit right then. Should have walked out and never come back. But I didn't. I needed the money. And part of me, a part I didn't want to admit, wanted to know where the frontier stop was trying to go. I came back that night. And the night after. And the night after that. Earl stopped asking if I wanted to quit. He knew I was in it now, committed whether I wanted to be or not. The station started moving faster. On my 18th night, I logged the mile marker every hour like always. 10 p.m., mile 173. 11 p.m., mile 176. Midnight, mile 182. The dot on the map crept westward in visible increments, sliding across Wyoming like something being pulled by a string. At 1 a.m., a couple came in, early 20s, holding hands, matching University of Wyoming hoodies. They bought snacks and sodas, paid cash, left. Normal interaction. At 1:47 a.m., they came back. Same couple, same hoodies, same order. They didn't recognize me. Didn't remember being there an hour earlier. First time stopping here, the guy said, smiling. Great little place. I gave them their change and watched them leave. Checked the security footage. 2 separate transactions, 47 minutes apart. Identical down to the exact bills they used to pay. At 2 a.m., I stayed inside. Didn't look at the windows. but I could feel something outside, pressing against the glass. Not wind, not anything physical, just presence, weight, like the station was moving through something thick and the air was pushing back. At 2:33 a.m., the cigarette display rearranged itself again. This time, they didn't just sort by color. They spelled something. I watched the packs slide across the shelf, forming letters. Help us. I stared at it for a full minute. Then the packs scattered and reorganized alphabetically, like nothing had happened. At 3 a.m., I checked the map. Mile 198. We'd moved 25 miles in 5 hours. The dot pulsed steadily now, bright red against the faded paper. I logged it. 3 a.m., mile 198, accelerated movement. Message and cigarette display. The payphone rang at 3:14 a.m. First ring. It rang again at 3:52 a.m. I waited. 4:19 a.m. Nothing. Just 2 rings. I could breathe. At 4:44 a.m., the cooler door opened. This time I heard more than a voice. I heard footsteps. Someone walking around inside the cooler. Slow, dragging steps. Then the voice again. My voice, older and exhausted. Kyle. Day 847. Can you hear me? I stood 5 feet from the cooler door, every muscle locked. The voice continued. If you can hear me, don't run. Don't quit. It gets worse if you run. You have to see it through. You have to help the station finish. The footsteps stopped. The cooler door swung shut on its own, seal clicking into place. I logged it. 4:44 a.m. Cooler event. Voice identified as future self. Day 847 referenced. Earl arrived at 6 a.m. I showed him the log book. He read the cooler entry 3 times. Day 847, he said quietly. That's 2 years and 4 months. What does that mean? It means if you don't help the station reach where it's going, you'll be traveling for 2 years and 4 months. Maybe longer. He closed the logbook. The station doesn't count time the same way we do. A night here might be a week somewhere else, or a month. People who've traveled the full route, the ones who made it back, they're never the same. They age different. Think different. How many people made it back? Out of 43 night workers over 37 years? 11. 32 people hadn't made it back. 32 people either still traveling or lost somewhere between Wyoming and wherever the station was heading. What happens to the ones who don't make it back? I asked. Earl didn't answer. He just pointed at the cooler. You heard one. I went home and slept fitfully. Dreamed about mile markers changing, about cigarette packs spelling out messages, about standing in the cooler surrounded by versions of myself from different points in time, all of us saying the same thing. Help the station finish. That night I came back early, 9 p.m. instead of 10. Earl was still there, sitting in his truck in the parking lot. He rolled down his window when I approached. You're not supposed to be here yet, he said. I need to understand what's happening, really understand. He sighed, killed the engine, and got out. We went inside together. He walked to the storage room and pulled a cardboard box from the top shelf. Inside were dozens of logbooks. Years worth. He handed me one dated 1991. Read, he said. I flipped through the pages. Different handwriting, different names. Thomas Whitaker, Jenny Ortiz, Robert Tissot. Each one logged the same things I was logging. Mile markers changing, map dots moving, repeat customers, voices in the cooler, messages and objects around the station. But near the end of each logbook, the entries changed. The handwriting got shakier. The timestamps became erratic. 3 a.m. entries followed by 8 a.m. entries with no explanation of the missing hours. Notes about seeing other stations, other versions of the frontier stop in different states. South Dakota, Montana, Idaho, Nevada. One entry from Jenny Ortiz, dated March 17th, 1993. I'm in Nebraska now. The map says Nebraska, but I'm still in the same building. Same pumps, same shelves. But the customers are wrong. They're translucent. I can see through them. They don't talk. They just stare. Another from Robert So, September 4th, 1996. Day 63 of traveling. Reached mile marker 847. The station is in Oregon according to the map, but the landscape outside looks like Mars. Red dirt. No plants. No animals. Sky is brown. Customers come in groups now, all identical. Same face, same clothes, same order. They're not human anymore. I don't think I am either. The last entry in Robert's log book, day 119. I understand now. The station isn't looking for a place. It's looking for a time. A moment when something went wrong during construction. It wants to go back and fix itself. But it can't do it alone. It needs someone to anchor it. I'm going to try. If this works, I'll reset. If it doesn't, I'm sorry to whoever reads this. No more entries after that. Did he make it back? I asked Earl. No. His family reported him missing in January 1997. They found his truck here, keys still in it. But no Robert. Station was at mile 173 when they found it. Like he never left. I put the logbook back in the box. My hands were shaking now. Why are you showing me this? Because you need to decide if you're going to help the station or fight it. The ones who fight it stay trapped. The ones who help it, some of them make it home. Earl pulled out another logbook, newer, dated 2019. This is from Megan Shepard. She's the last one who made it back. I opened it. Normal entries for the first 40 pages. Then the traveling started. Mile markers jumping. Map dots racing across states. Entries from Nebraska, South Dakota, Montana. But her handwriting stayed steady. Her timestamps stayed consistent. And near the end, one entry stood out. Day 176. I stopped fighting. I started talking to it. To the station. Out loud. Telling it I understand. That I'll help it get where it needs to go. The movement smoothed out after that. Less jarring. More purposeful. It's not trying to hurt me. It's trying to get home. And it's scared. I can feel that now. It's been scared for 37 years. The last entry. Day 203. We're here. The convergence point. I can see it now, where the station was supposed to be built. Not in Wyoming. In a place between places. The station is settling. I can feel it anchoring. When I walk outside, I'll be back in Wyoming. I know that somehow. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for taking me home. Dated signature. Megan Shepard. June 18th, 2019. She works at a library in Casper now, Earl said. Normal life, normal job. But she remembers everything. And she told me if the station ever starts traveling again with a new worker, to show them her logbook, to tell them it's possible to make it back. I looked at Earl. Why didn't you tell me this from the start? Because most people run when they know the truth. And running makes it worse. You had to see it yourself first. Had to decide on your own that you'd stay. You put the logbooks back in the box. You're at day 18. Megan made it back on day 203. That's 6 months, give or take. You helped the station get where it's going. You'll be home by February. You fight it, you'll end up like Robert, trapped somewhere in the route, still traveling years from now. I checked the map. Mile 173. We'd snapped back overnight, but the dot was pulsing faster now. Brighter. Waiting for me to start my shift. On my 19th night, I made a decision. I was going to help the station get home. Earl left at 10:15 p.m. after handing me the keys. Before I went inside, I stood in the parking lot and looked at the building. Really looked at it. Fluorescent lights glowing through the windows. The Frontier stop sign buzzing softly overhead. Pumps lined up in their concrete islands. Just a gas station, but also something else. Something aware. "I'm going to help you," I said out loud. "I don't know how yet, but I'll figure it out." The lights inside flickered once. Acknowledgement, maybe, or coincidence. I went inside and started my shift. At 11 p.m., I checked the map. Mile 173. The dot was pulsing steadily, waiting. I logged it and then did something I hadn't done before. I spoke to the empty station. "Where are you trying to go?" No response. Just the hum of the cooler and the distant sound of highway traffic. At midnight, a truck pulled in. Driver came inside, bought cigarettes and coffee. Paid with a 20 that had a red star stamped in the corner. I put it in the safe immediately. When I turned around, the driver was still at the counter, watching me. "You see the star?" he asked. "Yes." "Good. You're learning." He smiled, but his teeth were wrong. Too white, too perfect. Like dentures that didn't quite fit. "The station likes you. It's been waiting for someone who listens." "Who are you?" "I'm what happens when you travel too long without helping." "I'm still here. Still driving. Still stopping at stations that don't exist anymore." He picked up his coffee. "Don't end up like me, kid. Talk to it. Listen to it. It'll show you the way." He walked out. I watched through the window as he got in his truck and drove off. The license plate was blank. No numbers, no letters. Just a white rectangle. At 1 a.m., I checked the map again. Mile 189. We'd jumped 16 miles in an hour. The fastest movement yet. I logged it, then spoke again. "Is that because I said I'd help? Are you responding?" The cigarette display rattled. Packs shifted, forming words again. "YES." My pulse quickened. "What do you need from me?" The packs rearranged. "Anchor." "I don't understand." "How do I anchor you?" The packs scattered, reformed, stay. At 2 a.m., I stayed inside like always, but this time I talked while I worked. Told the station about myself, about my dad's cancer, the medical bills, why I needed this job, about growing up in Rollins, about the mountains I could see from my bedroom window as a kid. Random things, human things, like talking to a friend who couldn't talk back. At 2:37 a.m., someone knocked on the door. I looked up. Woman in her 20s, dark hair, wearing a jacket with a name tag that said Megan. I opened the door. She stepped inside, and I knew immediately she was the Megan from the logbook. Megan Shepard, the one who'd made it back. "You're Kyle," she said. Not a question. "How did you?" "The station showed me. It's showing you to me the same way it showed me to the workers who came before." She walked to the map and touched the pulsing dot. "You're moving fast. Faster than I did. That's good. It means the station trusts you. Earl said you made it back. How?" She pulled up a stool near the register and sat down. I stopped treating it like a building. Started treating it like a living thing that was lost. Every shift, I'd talk to it, tell it about my day, ask it questions, and eventually, it started answering. Not with words, with feelings, sensations. I'd touch a shelf and know it was scared. I'd stand near the cooler and feel it remembering something from a long time ago. What was it remembering? The moment it was built. 1987, right here at mile marker 173. But something went wrong during construction. A worker died. Heart attack, official reports said. But the station remembers it differently. It remembers the worker, a man named Donald Kemper, standing exactly where you're standing now, holding the blueprint and realizing the foundation was poured wrong, 3 feet too far west. He tried to tell the crew, but before he could, he collapsed, dead at 54. I'd never heard this story from Earl. What does that have to do with traveling? Everything. The station was built in the wrong spot, 3 feet off from where it was supposed to be, and for 37 years, it's been trying to correct itself. That's why it moves. That's why it travels. It's searching for the exact convergence point where it was meant to exist. She stood up. And it needs a living person to help it get there. Someone who understands what it's trying to do. Someone willing to anchor it when it finally finds the right spot. What happens when it finds it? It settles. Permanently. And everyone who's ever traveled with it gets released. Everyone trapped in the route. All the versions of themselves scattered across different timelines. They all collapse back into one. They come home. She walked to the door. But you have to make it to the convergence point first. That's about 843 miles west of here, in a place that doesn't have a name on any map. How long does it take you? 203 days, but I fought it for the first month. You're not fighting. That'll cut your time in half, maybe more. She opened the door. Outside, the sky looked normal again. Stars and familiar patterns. Keep talking to it, Kaio. Keep logging everything, and when you reach the convergence point, you'll know. The station will show you. She walked out into the parking lot. I watched her get into a Honda Accord and drive east on I-80. A normal car, a normal person. She'd made it back. At 3 a.m., I checked the map. Mile 217. We jumped 28 miles, but that was vibrating now, excited almost. I logged it and spoke to the station again. I understand now. You were built wrong. You're trying to fix it, and I'm going to help you. The lights dimmed, then brightened. Every bulb in the station pulsing in unison. The cooler hummed louder. The register drawer popped open on its own, revealing a folded piece of paper I had never seen before. I pulled it out. A blueprint. Yellowed, aged, corners torn. The original plans for the frontier stop, and in the margin, handwritten notes in faded pencil. Foundation error. 3 feet west of convergence point. Will cause spatial drift. Recommend correction before pouring. Signed, Donald Kemper. Dated, July 11th, 1987. The worker who died. He'd known. He'd written it down. But no one had listened. At 3:47 a.m., the payphone rang. First time. I noted it. It rang again at 4:03 a.m. Second time. I waited, but it didn't ring a third time. The station was following the rules with me now. Cooperating. At 4:44 a.m., the cooler door opened. I walked over, and this time I looked inside before closing it. The cooler was full of people. Versions of previous workers. Translucent, like Jenny Ortiz had described. I could see Robert So in his Sinclair jacket. I could see Thomas Whitaker in a flannel shirt. I could see others I didn't recognize, all of them standing in the cooler, frozen, waiting. And at the back, I could see myself. Older. Gray hair. Wearing the same clothes I had on now. The older me spoke, voice hollow and distant. Day 847. You're doing better than I did. Keep going. Help the station finish. Don't let us stay trapped here." I closed the cooler door and logged it. 4:44 a.m. Cooler opened. Saw trapped workers, including future self. Confirmed station needs help to release them. At 5 a.m., I checked the map. Mile 241. We'd moved 68 miles in 7 hours. I was somewhere in western Wyoming now, though the landscape outside still looked the same. The station was accelerating, trusting me, taking me with it. At 6 a.m., Earl pulled in. I met him outside and showed him the blueprint. "Where did you get this?" he asked. The station gave it to me. From the register drawer. He studied the notes in the margin, then looked at the mile marker. It read 173 again, snapped back overnight like always. But we both knew tomorrow night it would jump even farther. "You're doing what Megan did," Earl said. "Building trust." The station's responding. He handed the blueprint back. "Keep this with you. You'll need it when you reach the convergence point." "How will I know when I'm there?" "The map will show you. And the station will stop moving. It'll settle and you'll have one chance to anchor it correctly." He paused. "If you succeed, everyone comes home. If you fail, you stay trapped with them. What if I quit now? What if I just walk away?" Earl looked at me for a long moment. "Then Robert and Thomas and Jenny and all the others stay frozen in that cooler forever. And the version of you that's already trapped there, the one who's been traveling for 847 days, he stays trapped too. You're already in the loop, Kyle. The only way out is through." I folded the blueprint and put it in my jacket pocket. "Then I guess I'm seeing this through." Earl nodded. "Get some rest. Tomorrow night, the real traveling starts." He was right. Tomorrow night, the frontier stop would take me farther than I'd ever been. And I'd either help it find its way home, or I'd become another ghost in the cooler, warning the next worker about the choice they'd have to make. Night 20 started differently. When I arrived at 10 p.m., the station felt warmer. Not temperature warm, emotionally warm. Like walking into a house where someone's been waiting for you. Earl noticed it too. "It knows you're coming back," he said. "That's rare. Most workers make the station nervous. You're making it comfortable." He handed me the keys and left. I went inside and immediately checked the map. Mile 173, but the dot was already pulsing rapidly. Excited. "Ready. Let's go," I said to the empty room. "Show me." At 10:47 p.m., the first customer arrived. An elderly man, maybe 70, wearing a Vietnam veteran cap. He bought lottery tickets and a granola bar. When I gave him his change, he looked at me closely. "You're the one who's helping it," he said. "Helping what?" "The station. I worked here in 1989. Night shift. I didn't help. I ran after 2 weeks." He put his wallet away. "Been driving past this place for 36 years. Can't stop seeing it. Every time I'm on I-80, there it is. Same spot, same lights, waiting." He picked up his lottery tickets. "Don't run like I did. Finish what you started." He left before I could ask his name. I checked the security footage, but the timestamp was wrong. The video showed him entering at 3:23 a.m., not 10:47 p.m. The station was already bending time. At 11 p.m., I checked the map. Mile 276. We jumped over 100 miles in 13 minutes. I was past Rock Springs now, approaching the Utah border. I logged it and spoke to the station. That was fast. Are we accelerating? The cigarette display shifted. One word: ready. At midnight, the landscape outside changed. I looked through the window and saw red rock formations where Wyoming plains should have been. The highway was still there, still I-80, but the terrain was wrong. Desert, mesas, Utah geology. I checked the map. Mile 314. We'd crossed the state line. A car pulled in at 12:23 a.m., family of 4, parents and 2 kids. They came inside, bought snacks and drinks, used the restroom. Normal family on a road trip. But when the father paid, his hands passed through the counter, just for a second. Like he wasn't completely solid. I didn't say anything. The family left, got back in their car, and drove west. Through the window, I watched their taillights fade. But they didn't fade gradually. They just blinked out, gone in an instant. At 1 a.m., the map showed mile 389. We were in Nevada. I'd never been to Nevada. Outside the window, the landscape looked alien. Flat desert stretching to distant mountains. The sky was darker than it should be. Stars packed too tightly together. I spoke to the station again. Where exactly are we going? The register receipt printer turned on by itself and spat out a long strip of paper. No transaction recorded, just coordinates printed over and over. 41.3851 degrees north, 117.9048 degrees west. 41.3851 degrees north, 117.9048 degrees west. 41.3851 degrees north, 117.9048 degrees west. I pulled out my phone and typed them into the GPS. The location dropped the pin in the middle of nowhere. Northern Nevada. No town, no landmark, just empty desert labeled as Black Rock Desert. That's where you're supposed to be, I asked. The lights pulsed. Yes. At 2 a.m., I stayed inside during the forbidden hour, but I could feel something outside. Not threatening, just present. Like the station was pushing through a membrane, forcing itself through space that didn't want to let it pass. The windows rattled, the floor vibrated. I held onto the counter and kept talking. I'm still here. I'm not leaving. We're doing this together. At 2:41 a.m., the payphone rang. First time, I noted it. At 3:06 a.m., it rang again. Second time, no third ring. The station was still following its own rules. At 3 a.m., the repeat customers started. 3 separate people came in within 10 minutes, each one buying the exact same items as someone who'd come in earlier. A woman with a Coke and chips, same as the Utah woman from weeks ago. A trucker with coffee and jerky, same as the Casper driver. A teenager with energy drinks, same as a customer from my first week. They weren't the same people, different faces, different clothes, but same purchases, same movements, same words, like the station was replaying patterns it had memorized. I logged it. 3:10 a.m., pattern repetition. Station cycling through previous interactions, mile 447. At 4 a.m., I checked the map. We were approaching mile 500, halfway across Nevada. The dot on the map was moving continuously now, not in jumps, a steady drift westward. At 4:44 a.m., the cooler door opened. I walked over and looked inside. The trapped workers were still there, but they'd moved. They were arranged in a circle now, all facing inward towards something I couldn't see. In the center of the circle, a space. Empty. Waiting. My older self spoke from the back. That's your spot. When we reach the convergence point, you'll anchor us. You'll stand in that space and hold the blueprint. The station will do the rest. What happens to all of you? We collapse. Back into our original timelines. Back to the moment we should have finished our shifts and gone home. He smiled, tired. We've been waiting 37 years. Some of us longer. Please don't fail. I closed the cooler door and logged it. 4:44 a.m. Cooler opened. Workers arranged in circle. Anchoring position identified. At 5 a.m., the map showed mile 581. Outside, the sun was starting to rise, but it rose in the wrong place, too far south. The shadows it cast looked bent, like light was curving around something. A semi-truck pulled in. The driver got out, started pumping diesel, but his movements were backwards. He walked in reverse, removed the nozzle in reverse. Everything rewinded. When he reached a certain point, he suddenly jumped forward and repeated the same actions normally. A loop, stuck in his own personal replay. I went outside. The air smelled like ozone and hot metal. The mile marker read 581, but underneath the numbers, someone had scratched additional text into the post. Almost there. Don't stop. I recognized the handwriting from the logbooks. Robert So. He'd made it this far. Back inside, the phone on the wall rang. Not the payphone outside. The internal phone we used to call Earl. I picked it up. "Frontier stop," I said. "Kyle." It was Megan Shepard. "I'm at the library in Casper right now, but I'm also standing behind you. Check the security monitor." I turned to the monitor. 4 camera angles. In angle 3, the one showing the register area, Megan stood 5 feet behind where I was standing. But when I turned around, the space was empty. "I'm in 2 places at once right now," her voice said through the phone. "That's what happens when you get close to the convergence point. Time and space start overlapping. You might see multiple versions of yourself soon. Don't panic, it's normal." "How close am I?" "Check the map." I checked. Mile 639. The coordinates from the receipt were getting closer. Maybe 150 miles left. "You'll reach it tomorrow night," Megan said. "When you do, take the blueprint into the cooler. Stand in the center circle. Hold the blueprint over your head. The station will know what to do." What will I feel? Everything. Every shift worked here for 37 years. Every customer. Every traveler. Every trapped worker. It all flows through you for about 30 seconds. Then it settles. Then you're home. The phone went dead. I hung up and looked at the security monitor again. Megan was gone from camera 3. At 6 a.m., Earl arrived. The station had snapped back to mile 173, but both of us knew tomorrow night would be different. Tomorrow night, we'd reach the convergence point. "You ready?" Earl asked. I pulled out the blueprint from my jacket. The paper felt warm now, alive almost. "I think so." "Megan called me an hour ago. Said you're close. Said the station's been preparing for this moment since 1987. He looked at the building, then at me. "When you anchor it, everyone comes back. Including the version of me that got trapped in 2003. I worked night shift for 6 months that year. Started traveling. Never made it to the convergence point. Quit before I could finish." He paused. "The version of me you're talking to right now. I'm from the timeline where I gave up. But there's another Earl still traveling, still trying to help the station. When you anchor it, I'll remember both lives. I'll be whole again." I hadn't known Earl had traveled. He'd never mentioned it. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I'm ashamed. I ran. I chose safety over finishing what I started. And part of me has been trapped ever since." He put his hand on my shoulder. "Don't make my mistake. See it through. Bring us all home." He left. I watched his truck disappear down the highway. then went to my own vehicle. The sun was fully up now, the sky returning to its normal blue. Tomorrow night, the frontier stop would reach its destination, and I'd either anchor it successfully, or I'd become another ghost in the cooler. I drove home, but I didn't sleep. I couldn't. I kept thinking about the circle of workers, about my older self, about Earl trapped somewhere in the traveling route, about Donald Kemper's blueprint in my pocket. Tomorrow night it would all end, one way or another. Night 21, the final night. I arrived at 9:30 p.m., half an hour early. The station looked different. The lights were brighter, the building seemed more solid somehow, like it had been translucent before and was now becoming real. Earl was already there, standing in the parking lot, staring at the mile marker. It read 173, but we both knew that was temporary. "You feel it?" he asked. "Yeah, it's excited. Scared too. It's been trying to get home for 37 years. Now it finally has a chance." He handed me the keys. "Whatever happens tonight, thank you for trying." I went inside. The station was warm, welcoming. I set my jacket on the counter and pulled out the blueprint, laying it flat on the register. The paper had changed. The margins were filled with new handwriting now. Notes from every worker who'd ever traveled. Megan's handwriting. Robert's, Thomas's, Jenny's, Earl's. And at the bottom, in handwriting I recognized as my own, but older, shakier. Day 847. If you're reading this, you made it farther than I did. Finish what I couldn't. At 10 p.m., I checked the map. Mile 173. The dot pulsed steadily, waiting for me to be ready. I spoke to the station. "Let's go home." The dot lurched forward on the map. Mile 251. Mile 334. Mile 412. We were jumping faster than ever before, accelerating through Nevada in real time. I watched the dot race across the paper, heading toward the coordinates Megan had given me. At 10:37 p.m., a customer walked in. It was Donald Kemper. I knew it was him, even though I'd never seen his picture. 54 years old, wearing construction clothes, carrying a clipboard with the original blueprint. "You've got my plans," he said, pointing at the counter. "You died before you could fix the foundation." Heart gave out. Right where you're standing. July 11th, 1987. 2:17 in the afternoon. He walked to the map and touched the pulsing dot. "I've been trying to fix my mistake ever since. Every worker who comes through here, I hope they'll be the one who finishes it. Most of them run. Some of them try but don't make it. You're different. You're listening. The station chose me. The station chooses everyone. But you're the first one who chose it back." He smiled. "We're almost there. When you reach the convergence point, take my blueprint into the cooler. The workers will guide you." He walked toward the door, then paused. "My wife, Margaret, she's still alive, lives in Laramie. If you make it back, tell her I'm sorry I didn't listen to my gut. Tell her I finally fixed it." He left. I watched him dissolve into the parking lot lights. At 11 p.m., the map showed mile 589. Outside, the landscape had changed completely. No highway, no road, just flat desert floor, cracked and white, stretching endlessly. Black rock desert. We were close. At 11:47 p.m., I saw myself, standing at the end of aisle 3, staring at the chip rack. Same clothes, same face, but older. Gray at the temples. Deep lines around the eyes. Day 847 version. "You're really going to do it," he said. Not a question. I am. Good. I never made it this far. Gave up on day 600. Thought I could fight the station, force it to take me back. But that's not how it works. It only responds to cooperation. He walked closer. When you anchor us, I'll collapse back into you. You'll remember everything I experienced, all 847 days. It'll hurt for a moment. Then it'll fade. Will I be okay? Better than okay. You'll be complete. All the fractured versions of yourself across the timeline, unified. He smiled, sad and proud. See you on the other side. He faded, just dissolved into the air like smoke. At midnight, the map showed the exact coordinates. 41 degrees, 38.51 degrees north, 117 degrees, 9.048 degrees west. The dots stopped moving. Outside, the station sat in the middle of Black Rock Desert, perfectly still. The convergence point. I grabbed the blueprint and spoke to the station one last time. Thank you for trusting me. Let's bring everyone home. The cooler door swung open on its own. I walked toward it, blueprint in hand. Inside, the trapped workers stood in their circle, exactly as I'd seen them before. Robert So, Jenny Ortiz, Thomas Whitaker, dozens of others whose names I'd read in the logbooks. Earl, the 2003 version, younger than the Earl I knew, and in the back, my older self, day 847, watching the approach. I stepped into the center of the circle. Hold it up, my older self said. I raised the blueprint above my head, arms extended. The moment I did, the cooler temperature dropped. My breath came out in clouds. The workers around me began to glow, faint at first, then brighter, their translucent bodies solidifying. Then the memories hit. 37 years of night shifts compressed into 30 seconds. I felt every hour worked, every customer served, every rule followed or broken. I felt Donald Kemper's heart give out beneath my feet. I felt the foundation being poured 3 feet too far west. I felt the station's confusion, its slow realization that something was wrong, its desperate attempts to correct itself. I felt Robert So's fear on day 119, Jenny Ortiz's despair on day 87, Earl's shame when he quit on day 173, Megan Shepard's determination on day 203, my own exhaustion on day 847. And underneath it all, I felt the station's loneliness. 37 years of being lost, displaced, trying to get home. The blueprint in my hands grew hot. The paper began to glow, golden light spreading from the margins where Donald Kemper had written his warnings. The light expanded, filling the cooler, filling the station, spreading outward into the desert. I felt the building shift. Not move, shift. Like it was sliding sideways through reality, correcting itself. 3 feet east, back to where it should have been built in 1987. The workers around me began to collapse, their bodies folding inward, compressing, returning to their original timelines. Robert vanished first, then Jenny, then Thomas. One by one they blinked out, released from the loop. Earl, the 2003 version, looked at me before he disappeared. Thank you, he mouthed. My older self was last. Day 847. He walked forward, stepped into me, and I felt us merge, his memories flooding into mine. All those days of traveling, condensed into knowledge. I understood now. Every choice he'd made, every mistake, every moment of hope and despair. Then he was gone. Just me, whole. The light faded. The cooler temperature returned to normal. I was standing alone in the center of an empty circle, holding a blueprint that no longer glowed. Just old paper, yellowed and torn. I walked out of the cooler. The station was quiet, still, settled. I checked the map on the wall. The dots sat exactly at mile 173, Wyoming, I-80. But underneath it, new text had appeared in the margin, handwritten, foundation corrected, July 11th, 1987. Thank you, Donald Kemper's handwriting. At 2 a.m., I looked outside. The landscape was back to normal. Wyoming plains, distant mountains, I-80 stretching east and west under familiar stars. At 4:44 a.m., the cooler door stayed closed. At 6 a.m., Earl pulled into the parking lot, the 2025 version. But when he got out of his truck, he looked different, lighter, whole. He walked inside and stared at me. I remember, he said quietly. Both timelines. The one where I quit and the one where I traveled. They're both real now. He looked around the station. It's settled. I can feel it. We're home. Everyone. Robert's in Montana right now, waking up in his truck at a rest stop, wondering why he feels so rested. Jenny's in Colorado with her family, about to get a phone call from her sister she hasn't heard from in 30 years. Thomas is in Cheyenne, looking at his calendar and realizing he has no memory of the last week. Earl put his hand on my shoulder. You did it. You brought us all back. I looked at the blueprint in my hand, then folded it carefully and put it in my pocket. Donald Kemper wants his wife to know he fixed it. Margaret Kemper. She's 83 now, lives in a care facility off Grand Avenue. Earl smiled. I'll drive you there tomorrow. She'll want to hear this. I worked the rest of my shift in a station that no longer traveled. The mile marker stayed at 173. The map dot stayed still. The cigarette display remained however I organized it. At 6 a.m., I clocked out and went home. But I kept the blueprint. And I kept working at the Frontier stop, because now it wasn't just a building. It was home. For me, for the station, and for everyone who'd ever been lost trying to find their way back. I visited Margaret Kemper the next day. Earl drove me to the care facility in Laramie, waited in the truck while I went inside. She sat in a wheelchair by the window, looking out at the mountains. When I told her about Donald, about the blueprint, about how he'd finally fixed his mistake, she cried. Not sad tears. Relief. She said she'd felt him still here all these years, unfinished, waiting. Now she could feel him at peace. Thank you, she said, holding my hand. Thank you for listening to him. I kept working at the Frontier stop. Earl paid me extra, said I'd earned it. The station stayed at mile 173. Normal customers, normal nights. No traveling, no rules-breaking reality. Just a gas station on I-80 doing what gas stations do. Then the postcard arrived. It came to my apartment 2 weeks after the anchoring. No stamp, no postmark. Just my address written in handwriting that looked like mine, but wasn't. The front showed a picture of the Frontier stop at sunset, except the sky behind it had colors that didn't exist in nature. Purples and greens swirling together. The back read, "You helped me find home. Now I'd like to offer you a position. Living anchor. Voluntary. Help others who are lost. The station." I showed it to Earl. He stared at it for a long time. It's asking you to stay permanently, to be the person who guides travelers back. He handed it to me. It's your choice. But if you say yes, you'll see things most people never see. Dimensions folding over each other. People from timelines that don't exist anymore. It's beautiful and terrible. I said yes. The station changed after that. Not physically, but I could feel it differently now. I could sense when someone was traveling, when someone needed help finding their way home. I'd talk to them, guide them, show them it was possible to escape the loop. I helped a woman from Oregon who'd been traveling for 93 days. I helped a man from Montana who'd been trapped for 6 months. I helped a teenager from Colorado who'd accidentally triggered the traveling on her first shift. The station became a way station, a place between places. People would stop there, not always knowing why, and I'd help them find their way to wherever they needed to be. Then, on a Tuesday night in October, someone walked in who made me stop breathing. He looked exactly like me. Same face, same build, same scar on his left hand from when I'd caught it on a fence post as a kid. But he was wrong. His eyes were hollow. His skin was gray. He moved like someone who'd forgotten how bodies were supposed to work. He walked straight to the register and put a folded piece of paper on the counter. "Are you Kyle Brennan?" he asked. His voice was mine, but damaged, worn down. "Yes. I'm you. From a different timeline, a timeline where you never made it to the convergence point, or you're still traveling." He pushed the paper toward me. "I've been moving through stations for 3,000 days. 8 years. I found a way across timelines to reach versions of myself who succeeded. Please tell me you found the way out." I unfolded the paper. It was a map, but not a normal map. It showed dozens of frontier stops scattered across multiple realities. Each one had a number next to it, days traveled. Some read 200, some read 600, some read numbers in the thousands. And in the center, a note in my handwriting. "There are infinite versions of us. Most are still tracked. You anchored one station. There are hundreds more. Please help them. Please help me." I looked at the version of myself standing across from me. He was shaking, desperate. "I found the way out," I said. "And I'm going to help you find it too." He collapsed against the counter, sobbing, relief and exhaustion pouring out of him. I looked at the map again, at all those stations, all those versions of myself and other workers trapped in loops across the multiverse. The frontier stop had found its home, but there were others still searching, still traveling,